So generally, when people start cloud, okay, they think that everything will migrate and I don't require any data center. Okay, that's not the case.
Mhm.
So it will be any roadmap, any cloud roadmap will take around 3 to 4 years
Okay.
on an average. That's an average. Sometimes it takes more than that. Okay, and when we migrate or when we are trying to do the planning to the cloud, there are two different types of services offered by any cloud provider. Okay, first one is the infrastructure services.
Yeah.
And second one, platform as a service. So the major difference compared to the on-premises, when you are having your own data center, back to the infrastructure services, back to the platform services, they are majorly divided into 7 different areas. Or what you own when you have your own data center is around 7 different areas. Okay. When you have your own data center, we maintain around 7 different layers of infra components.
Yeah.
Okay. The first layer being the data center facilities. Okay, the first layer being the data center facilities. So when I have my own data center,
Okay.
the first thing I need to maintain is my facilities, the space, the power, the cooling, racks. Okay, I need to maintain the data center facilities.
So this is any this is the setup of any cloud infrastructure, right? These levels.
Now this is when you have your own data center.
When you have your own data center, okay.
Okay, when you have your own data center. Okay, so the first thing we maintain is the data center facilities. So like power, space, racks. Okay, the second layer we maintain is the physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I need to purchase a server number A, server number B, server number C. I need to maintain the physical level infrastructure. Then on top of it, I need to maintain the virtual infrastructure like VMware, Hyper-V.
Yeah.
So to properly or fully utilize the physical infra. Properly or fully utilize the physical infrastructure. So then on to maintain the operating systems. I need to maintain a Windows operating system, Linux operating system. I need to maintain the operating systems. Okay. Then on top, maintain the applications or runtimes like a .NET runtime or a Java runtime or a database application or a web-based application. I can need to maintain my applications.
Yeah.
Then on top of it, I need to maintain my data. So one copy of data, 2 copies of data. Okay, if I'm trying to create my code, the code level repositories, I need to maintain the data.
Yeah.
Okay, on top of it, I need to maintain my identities. Identity. So I need to maintain the username, passwords, permissions, etc. etc.
Yeah.
So the 7 different layers you need to maintain yourself when you have your own data center.
Yeah.
Now, when you move to the cloud, okay, any cloud, into the infrastructure as a service model, IaaS. The bottom 3 layers, will be managed by the cloud provider.
This will be managed by the cloud provider.
Yes. So you don't need to search for data center space. You don't need to purchase a physical box, or you don't need the virtual infra.
Yeah.
So these 3 will be maintained by the cloud provider.
Yeah.
And I start maintaining the top 4. Okay. I just maintain this top 4. So I maintain.
So the client will maintain the top 4.
Yeah, that's the user responsibility.
Yeah.
That's my responsibility. I just anything beyond before OS, I don't need to maintain. That's the infrastructure as a service.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to the platform as a service, platform as a service, the bottom 5 layers, will be maintained by the provider. So even the application bar runtime will be maintained by the cloud provider.
Okay.
Maintain the top two. I just need to maintain the top two things. That's it. That's the user responsibility. So the level of infrastructure activities you carry out will reduce from on-premises back to the cloud into the IaaS model versus PaaS model.
Okay.
So here you're maintaining 7 components. Here you maintain 5. Here you maintain only 2.
Yeah.
So that's the difference when you move from on-premise to the cloud to the platform as a service model. So ideal state will be to have only PaaS. Okay, when you migrate to cloud, the ideal state is only have PaaS.
Only a PaaS. Okay.
Only PaaS, no, nothing else. But practically not feasible. Generally, what people are moving is they're moving to the IaaS. Then over a period of time, they're converting something to PaaS and something left over in the data center. So it's a hybrid model.
Repeat that again. Sorry, what did you say?
Ideally, should be everything to PaaS. Okay, but people are moving from data center to the infrastructure model, and some services they're migrating to platform as a service, and they're having a hybrid model: on-premise, cloud IaaS, and cloud PaaS.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a hybrid model now. So there is no way I can have only one model, and it's going in different spaces, different types of models. Okay.
Yeah.
That's difference between IaaS, PaaS, and the data center part.
Yeah.
Now, when you come to the infrastructure as a service, there are 3 major parts: compute, storage, and network. Compute, storage, and network component. Compute, storage, and the network component.
Yeah.
The compute is nothing but memory and CPU capacity. Memory and CPU capacity. What is the system CPU and capacity to serve your load? That's the under compute. The compute in the Azure, we call it as virtual machines. So there are 2 different types of virtual machines in the Azure. One is called as cloud VM, and the second one is called as Azure Resource Manager VM. Classic and ARM. So classic are older generation, which has started in the 2011, and they're more like a sunset in the 2015. Okay, so it's more or less like a closed chapter in 15. But historical reasons, they're still existing in the portal.
Okay.
Okay, so the new starting from 2015 till 2019 or whatever you call it is now, that's the ARM. So they stopped any development in the classic VM around 2.5 years ago. Okay, what existing they're running, but new things they stopped developing in the features or functionalities. Everything will come under only ARM. Okay, you can call it as the version 2, version 1 and version 2. Okay. So Azure Resource Manager, in short we call it as ARM, and the ARM VM.
Yeah.
Okay. Storage. There are 5 different types of storages based on the usage. Why they are used? Based on the classification of the usage, there are 5 different types of storage in the Azure. The first one being managed disk storage. Managed disk storage. This storage will help you have the space to the VMs. I want 1 terabyte space, 2 terabyte space to the disks. I can have from the managed disk storage. Okay.
Yeah.
The second type of storage is called as the blob storage. And the blobs can be binary large object storage. Binary large object storage. This storage is useful when you want to store the objects. So objects are nothing but files. When you want to just store the files or store the data, you can use the object storage.
Okay. Do you set a backup on this one?
Sorry?
Blob. Do you set a backup on the storage? Or?
A little different, but yes, we can use that.
Okay.
So it can be used as a backup, or it can be also used as some other purpose, just to use as a web drive. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
The third type of storage is called as the file storage. So that uses like you can call it as a file server to be specific. If you want to use that as a file server in the cloud, you can use a file storage. So this will give you an online edit, read, write, and copy the data, and also download the data at a faster pace compared to the blob. So it's a SMB based storage, server message block based storage. Message block based storage, which will give you faster read and write access to the data.
Okay.
And the fourth type of storage is called as the queue storage. The storage is useful as a messaging queue application, messaging queue.
Right.
And the last type of storage is the table storage, which is a NoSQL storage, which will help you to store unstructured data in the tabular format. So these are the 5 major types of storages in the Azure. There are some other storages, but these are the major 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the third component is the network component, which we call it as virtual networks. So this will help you to set up your IP ranges, your DNS, DHCP, setting up the connectivity to on-premise, blocking the ports, blocking the traffic coming to the network. I can do that, all those options in the virtual network.
Okay.
Okay. And a couple of supporting components to the major components. The first one is called as the load balancers. So this will help you to distribute the load between different systems.
Yep.
And the next one is the virtual machine scale sets. Okay, this will help you to distribute the traffic or increase the number of systems in the backend when there is more load. So increase the system when the load is more.
Yeah.
So these are the major components under the infrastructure as a service.
Yeah.
Questions?
Okay.
Okay. The second components, platform as a service. So in the platform as a service, everything is a ready-made services. So you don't need to build from scratch. You just consume them as they're available. The first being Azure backup services. So this will help you to back up your on-premises VMs as well as the cloud VMs and restore them as required from the backup. So backup services. The second component, Azure monitoring as a service.
Yeah.
As a service, I want to monitor how my VMs are performing. I want to monitor how a system is performing. I can use the Azure monitor. The third type of service is the Azure SQL Server. So SQL as a service. I want to have a Microsoft SQL Server as a service. I can use the Azure SQL as a service.
Yeah.
The fourth component, Azure Web Applications. web app as a service. Okay, I want to simply have my code maintained and I don't want anything else. I don't want to maintain a server, I don't want to maintain a runtime. Okay, everything I want to have from Azure. I can just use the Azure web applications.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, Azure automation. Automation as a service. I want to automate activity number A, B, C. I want to develop the workflows. I can use the Azure automation.
Yeah.
Next one, we have something called as Azure Media Services, which will help you to convert content from one format to another format.
Yeah.
Then we have Azure Active Directory Authentication as a service. Authentication as a service. I can authenticate users and delegate permissions on the cloud as well as on-premise using Azure Active Directory.
Yeah.
Then you have something called as Azure Traffic Manager. So this will help you to load across different geographies or different locations. So I have something in the and have something in the cloud. I want to distribute the traffic to both the places. I can use the Azure Traffic Manager. So these are the major services which are there in the Azure.
Okay.
And there are around 100 plus services. This is a subset of the services.
Right. Okay.
That's what we discussed in the demo session. Any questions?
All right. So this course will cover how to implement all these services in a cloud environment, right? When you move from on-premise.
Come back again. Sorry, I don't get your question.
So all these, all the stuff that you've just mentioned about infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, the whole course, the whole training actually explains you how you implement this in a cloud environment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, before actually we start, so Azure offers a free trial. So Azure offers a free trial, okay, which asks basic information like credit card, name, email ID, phone number. Okay, supply that, and you can get a trial account free for 30 days. Okay.
30 days.
Yes. And in the 30 days, you will get credit up to $300.
Yeah.
So you can use any service up to that amount.
Okay.
Okay, during the trial account, first month of time. And after that, you can convert to pay as you go. And you can use limited services for free for a year.
Yeah.
Limited services for free for 1 year time. Okay, for example, in the virtual machines, they give you one system with 1 CPU and 1 GB memory.
Yeah.
Okay, after the free trial, you can convert into pay as you go, and you can still use the services under limited quantities for free for 1 year.
Okay.
Okay, and there are around 25 plus services which are always free.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can set up a trial account, and the trial account will give you access to the Azure. And when you log into the Azure, or the major portal is azure.microsoft.com. And if you want to log into the Azure, portal.azure.com.
Yeah.
Okay. From the azure.microsoft.com, you will see all the documentation, all the links, all the case studies. You have everything in the azure.microsoft.com. And portal.azure.com is a place where you log into the Azure portal. Okay. I just logged into portal, and that's how the portal looks like. So when you log in, that will be the view, default view.
Yeah.
So that's a dashboard view. So that's a portal.azure.com. Okay. Now, before we start any of the service usage, the first thing is to understand what services are there in the Azure. When you click on the all services, you'll see a list that is around 100 plus services.
Yeah.
Okay, when I say all, Okay, just giving the small thing, but it will be around 100 plus services. Okay, so you can azure.microsoft.com. What offers are what services are offered by Azure. Okay, so you can start for free. Those are the products. It's a big list. Okay, so there are different parts.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can set up a free trial account by clicking start free, and you can start set up the trial account as required. Okay, so the next thing, once you start free trial, okay, the first thing to start choosing is called as a region. Okay, the first term or the first thing to choose once you complete your service account creation is the region. So region is a place where your servers are you are using primarily for your infrastructure build. Whatever you're trying to do in the Azure, we do in one region.
Okay.
So there are around 54 plus regions in the across the globe. So when you see the diagram, they're having around 54 plus locations across the globe, and they're still adding the new locations based on the demand and supply. Okay, if you see, things are coming in Norway East and Norway West, and that's it. Remaining things are already there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can choose any region. There is no hard and soft tools there. It's up to you. For example, you may be a UK customer, but still you are good to choose a Southeast Asia region to build your services.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no limitations as long as your application requirements are met.
Yeah.
Okay, so the primarily when you choose a region, okay, this is a practical example or practically how you choose a region. Okay, theoretically you can choose any. It's up to you. Okay, practically, so there are some conditions we need to understand before we choose a region. First one is the compliance requirements. So what is your compliance requirements? I want to have a GDPR compliance. I want to have SOX compliance. I want to have something else compliance. Okay, based on the compliance requirements region. For example, GDPR. I need to keep my data in the Europe region. So I should be choosing any data center in the Europe location.
Yeah.
So compliance plays a major role. So compliance restrictions by chance. Okay, second part or second criteria to choose is the your user base or consumers of your application. So for example, my consumer base is in India or my consumer base is in USA. So it's always good to build a server closer to your consumer base so that the
Yeah.
latency at the network level will be less.
Yeah.
So the third condition, so these two are not mandatory for me. So the third one is the price. So the price of the Azure changes from one region to other region. Okay. So for example, Singapore is the costliest one and the US will be the cheapest one.
Okay.
So the price changes only little variance like $1.1 or $1.01 between 1 and 1.01 between locations. But still, if you add the things, it will be huge cost.
Okay.
So these are the three major criteria before you choose any region. Once you choose the region, stick to the region as the primary region. So you can have one or two regions. Choose them wisely. Which region? Because the data transfer between region 1 and region 2 is also charged.
Okay.
Okay, Azure doesn't mean it's a single thing. Within the Azure also, it is chargeable. The data transfer is chargeable.
So within
Okay.
Azure environment, you can have multiple data centers.
You can use multiple data centers, but the data transfer between data centers is chargeable.
It's chargeable. Yeah.
So I don't keep my web server in the US and my database server in the UK, correct?
Yeah.
I'll keep them at the similar location.
Yeah.
Okay, for the connectivity part, second one for the latency part.
Yeah.
So generally we choose one or two regions as required. Primary and DR. As simple as that. So primary region number 1 and secondary region number 2 or DR region number 2.
Yeah.
Okay. The second term is the availability zone. for the high availability of the components. For example, I want my web server to be 100% available. Okay, I'm giving
100% of it. Yeah.
Okay, so if one data center is down, my server should not be down. Or if some down came, I don't want my data center to be down. Okay, in this case, we have something called as availability zones. So Azure has availability zones across the places where there is a white color dot.
Right.
If you see West US 2, Central US, East US and East US 2, North Europe, UK South, these are the places where the high availability features like availability zones are there. This availability zone is a new concept which is released around 5-6 months ago. Okay, spreading that concept across all the data centers across the globe. So it will take another 6 to 10 months, but they'll have zones across the data centers. Okay, so that you can build a high available infrastructure without any downtime, even due to XYZ conditions beyond your control. Okay, that's a availability zone. That's the second term.
Okay.
Third term is the images, or you can call it as marketplace. So for example, I want a Windows server, I want a Linux server, I want a Red Hat Enterprise Linux server. So I don't need to purchase OS or build OS. I can directly go to the marketplace and choose the image which I want, and I can start building the system as required.
Okay.
So the marketplace is a huge marketplace where a lot of vendors has the type with, and you can find most of the images from the marketplace. And this are of two different types: one with only operating system, and one with OS plus application. So the advantage is when you have OS plus application, it will be faster, provision, and cheaper from the application cost point of view.
Okay.
Okay, so there are some images only with OS and some images with OS plus application along with some software added. So you are going to choose anything. The cost of the OS is also baked into the image price.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the third term. Fourth term is the resource group. So resource groups are logical components which will bind the related resources into one group. For example, I have a web server, database server, and a middleware server. I combine them into one resource group.
Right.
Resource group. So that when I don't want to have them, I delete them as a set.
Okay.
Or when I want to tag it out from the costing or from the different type of perspective, I know that this is a tag which I use for my combined resources as required. Resource group.
Yep.
The fifth term is the VM name. Okay, name of the VM. Okay, the VM names here are not auto-generated. You need to give the name as required. Okay. The term is the username and password. The username and password for your operating system to log in. So there is no default usernames here. Whatever username you give here will become the default in the OS level. So for example, in the Windows there is administrator, but when you create from Azure, there is no admin. Whatever you give here will become the administrator on the system.
Okay.
Okay, and you can give the password as required. Some 13 character is the default limit. You need to keep the password. Okay. The next thing is called as the network security group. Network security group. This is a port which you want to open from where to where. So I want to log into machine. I want to open from my laptop and open that in the network security group. For Windows, we use RDP port 389. For Linux, we use SSH 20 port. We can open the respective port using this network security group. So there and advanced energy. We'll do the basic first and we'll continue as we progress the advanced security groups.
Yep.
Then in the Azure, there is something called as pricing models. Pricing models. What is this model means? For example, I can purchase the services from Azure as pay as you go. Means I consume them and I pay for them at the end of the month. And there are also options available where you can have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft and you pay at the end of the year what you consume.
Okay.
There is also something called as reserved instances, where you can reserve the capacity from the Azure and you pay at a discounted price for the reserved capacity.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
it's adjustment. Okay, so there
Yeah.
are two different models: pay as you go and reserved instances, where you say that I'll use for 1 year, 3 years, I'll have the reserved instances. So you have a 3-year period where you pay the cost upfront and reserve that for 1 year with a discounted price up to 40% discount.
Okay.
Okay, the next level of pricing models is called as hybrid benefits.
Hybrid benefits.
When you want to carry your OS license to the cloud,
Yep.
I already purchased a lot of Windows licenses, okay, which I don't want to make them non-usable. I can use them and part of the hybrid benefits, where I can take my license to the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, the operating system license will be from your pocket instead of going from the cloud pocket. So you will save up to 45% of the cost based on the default price.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the concepts. Before we start, any questions in these concepts?
No.
Okay. So just give me a minute. I'll be back. Let me fill some water.
Okay. Yeah. Let me guess. Let me get water as well. 1 second. Ugh.
Hello. Hello, Liaquat. You there?
Yeah. Hello. I'm back. Sorry.
Okay. So let's use these concepts and try to build a sample VM. Okay.
Okay.
I'm logging to portal. So you set up your account. I'm just logging to the portal, and that's
Yeah.
dashboard. Okay. That's the default dashboard. If you want, you can add the new dashboards as required. Okay. Now, when you go back to all services, you'll see different services.
Yeah.
So the first service to see is the virtual machines. Okay, when you see, you can see virtual machine classic and virtual machines.
Yeah.
So classic, I'm not touching. I'm going to the virtual machines. Okay, you click the start button, which will add as a favorite. That's the virtual machines I have. So you can build virtual machines as required up to the $200 of credit, which you get from the Azure. I have some $67 left. Okay. So you can see the subscription. Click on that one. What is the credit remaining? You'll see the subscription and other things. So mine is a paid account. So I'll see some billing period. Okay. So that's what I spent. And that's what the forecast is. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be spending around $55 in this month. Okay. So I can add a virtual. So you can create a resource group. So you can create a resource group. So logically binding related resources. That's it. Okay. There's no physical relationship between them. It's logically grouping them. Give
So
the
this resource group is what is it actually used for? I mean,
so if you are having a web application database in the backend, a middleware in the backend, I'll create a resource group with all these three things.
together.
So I'll say application A resource group.
Application reason, yeah.
So that I'm saying that application A has these 6 VMs and these 6 VMs are related to each other.
Okay.
Logically grouping them. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can give the VM name and you can choose the region. I'm choosing the region East US2 for my lab. And I'm not planning any infrastructure redundancy. So I'm not creating any zones. Okay, I'm not using any zones. I'm building as a standalone. We'll see the zones at a different point of time. Currently, I'm building with a standalone VM. Okay.
Standalone VM, okay.
And you have the different types of images. So this is the short list. If you want, you can go back to the entire list. Browse all and private images, which will take you to the marketplace.
Okay.
It's a big list.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going with the default for the time being. I don't want this much list. I'm just going with the Windows Server 2012 R2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the size of the system. As one size doesn't fit all, there are different types of sizes in the Azure. We'll discuss the sizes tomorrow. I just want to limit the theory, so I just jump to the lab. Okay. We'll discuss this tomorrow. Okay. What is the size and what are the categories? We'll discuss tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So then you require username and password to log in. So I'm giving the username. So that will be my admin username and the password. And the password confirmation. And you can allow the selected ports. We call them as network security groups. Okay. I'm allowing the port number RDP because that's a Windows machine. I'm trying to take RDP. Okay. I'm opening RDP from internet.
So that allows the RDP connection to the VM.
Yes, from internet.
From the internet, yeah.
Okay. And if you want to use a license or your own license or from the Microsoft, I'm saying that I don't want license. I want to use the Azure license. If you can say yes, then ask for the confirmation. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't get activated license. You have your own license copy. Okay. Whether you want to consume from license from Azure or you have your own license. That's what it is asking.
Right. Okay.
Okay. I'm saying so I don't have a license.
Normally in the environment, work environment, what do they normally use? Do they use the Windows Server license they already have on this? Or?
It depends on if they have already. They say yes. For example,
Okay.
I might, then I'll have some licenses, correct? Old
Yeah.
system on, I'll reuse in the cloud. Okay,
Yeah.
my old ones are not going off. I'm building newly in the Azure. Then I'll pay license to Azure.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
this
remaining,
on. So for example, if
yeah,
you got a if you got an on-premise license for a Windows server, which obviously not used, can you use that same license copy for this for the Azure
yes,
environment? You
yeah,
can.
you're good to use. You're good to use. Okay.
Hmm.
So there are some certain tabs. Okay, disk, networking, management, advanced, tags, create. So I'm skipping all the tabs for the time being. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing the basics. Okay, as we progress, we'll see one tab.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm going to the last tab now. Review and create. I'll say simple. Next. I'm leaving the defaults. Okay,
Yeah.
except I'm taking this as disk as the standard, which I don't want to pay for the premium cost. Okay,
Okay.
that's the only change I'm making. We'll discuss what is that means at a different point of time.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm just saying next. No changes. And create your VM. Okay, that will charge me 0.570 USD per hour. Okay,
Okay. Hmm.
so all the Azure charges are per second billing. So you pay for what you consume. So if you
Right. Okay.
borrow after 10 minutes, you pay for only 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, and create the VM.
Per
So the
second billing.
per second billing, yes.
Mm.
So the VM build has been started.
Yeah.
Okay, if you see, it's creating some storage accounts, some security groups in the backend.
Yeah.
Okay, some IP addresses. So these are the steps which are running in the backend once you submitted the job.
Hmm.
So they'll be under the activity log. You can click on this one and go to the activity log. Or you
Hmm.
can say services and search the activity log. Okay, here's the same thing. Check out the VM1. It's creating, and I'll have one public AP and one private AP to the machine. So
Yeah.
using public AP, I can connect from anywhere.
Connect. Yeah.
So copy to the clipboard and start browsing it using RDP.
Hmm.
So give the username and password and login.
Yeah.
The system is built in less than 5 minutes.
So now this is built and the access is. How do you actually So if you need to give any of the infrastructure guys, IT guys want access to this VM, how do you set up the access on the VM?
So add to the AD and have the access from the AD as usual, no change. Into the VM is same, like you do the traditional
No,
VM.
no, the VM is same, but how do you create the group? How do you link the AD group, security group with this VM for them to access it? Because
Now we'll
they
discuss
must be
that.
added to
No, we'll
something to
discuss that.
give them access, right?
We'll discuss at a different point of time. AD.
Okay.
Okay. For the timing, let's understand it's a standalone VM.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, standalone VM which is activated with Windows 22 R2 and everything built.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, whether you want to add to domain, those concepts we'll discuss as we progress.
Okay.
Those still remain the same, no change. How you
Mm-hmm.
delegate on, you delegate in the cloud also, as usual. But how you add to domain is a little different. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I have a username password, I can log in, correct? So
Yeah.
local users if required. For the time being, I understand we have the username password and we logged into the machine.
Okay.
So the system will be charged as long as this is in the running state.
Okay.
Okay, so if it is stopped and deallocated, that VM billing will be stopped.
All right. That's good.
Okay, so I have
Mm-hmm.
some VMs, but I kept in the stop state so that I don't want to pay the cost for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you can select the VM and you can click stop. So that will
Mm-hmm.
deallocate the VM and your billing will be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
so that's a basic system build and basic information how to access and how to log into the machine.